Next, we are going to have an update on our resilience hubs. So I believe we have two presenters, one from our City of Austin Sustainability Office, Zach Balmer, and we also have Matthias Segura from AISD on the line. So thank you, welcome. I'm not sure which of you is beginning, but thank you both for being present. And colleagues, you likely remember this is a resolution that came through council. It's a resolution that I brought, that I believe Vice Chair Fuentes, you were a co-sponsor on, and we are going to, part of the resolution asked for these regular updates. They're also being presented to our joint subcommittee meeting of the Travis County School District and City of Austin, since those are all named stakeholders in this process. And I think as we look at the after action report that the manager presented last week and our audit that will be presented tomorrow to the Audit and Finance Committee, again and again, this idea, this concept of resilience hubs is cited. And so I appreciate both of you being here today to talk about where we are in the establishment of these, not just so that they can serve our community in times of disaster, but so that they can help build that kind of personal preparedness and community resilience that we need, so that as a community we're well situated to face the next disaster.
Great. Thank you so much for that, Council Member. I'm Zach Balmer, Climate Program Manager with the Office of Sustainability. And today with me, I have Matthias Segura. I'll let you introduce yourself.
Hello, thank you for the opportunity. My name is Matthias Segura, Chief of Operations for AISD.
Great. So today we're going to step through some slides. Shouldn't take super long. And this presentation is similar to what we presented to the joint subcommittee about 6 weeks ago, and we are working on this daily. So this is kind of the evolution and update to that presentation on kind of what's happened since then. And we're also planning on presenting at the next subcommittee meeting, which is I think on November 29th. So we're glad that this, my office has been, excited about resilience for many years, and we are excited to keep this moving forward. So this momentum and energy is really good for this initiative right now. So next slide. Okay, so we're going to go over the council resolution that was from earlier this year, and then go over kind of where we are right now with defining resilience hubs and thinking about just the concept of resilience hubs. Then Matthias is going to take over and talk a little bit about AISD and how they're fitting into this work. And then we will wrap up with kind of the next steps and working together and where we're going from here. Next slide. So this is the council resolution from this past April that asks staff to conduct an assessment of potential sites for resilience hubs, think about passive survivability of facilities, engage with the community, think about a citywide network of resilience hubs, and essentially come back to council with budget and recommendation on funding strategies and timelines, and specifically looking at some pilot hubs. So we reported back on that city on this resolution in, I believe, August. But ever since August, we have been, talking more with the AISD, talking with Travis County now, talking with lots of outside stakeholders, and our sort of thinking and concepts on this just continue to evolve more and more that we talk to folks. So it's exciting to share kind of where we are today, thinking about kind of where we were just a few months ago, kind of only thinking about this small number of pilot hubs. So next slide. So why resilience hubs? Just as Councilmember Tova was speaking about a couple minutes ago, because of climate change and because of other factors, disaster frequency is intensifying and increasing. Extreme weather events paired with power and water outages and sort of cascading effects of disasters occurring in our community have created health and safety emergencies across our city and community. And extreme weather events are really highlighting the need for accessible community spaces, areas to distribute food and water medicine, the need for backup water and power when our utilities do fail, the potential for sheltering, but then, as was also mentioned, most importantly, truly engaging community kind of on a day-to-day basis. And as we're going through sort of 98% of the time with our city-owned facilities and with our operations, to make sure that the city is connected, and this is not just an only kind of emergency response activity. The other thing that has really become clear, especially with the concept of resilience hubs, is that we must have a focus on equity here. Empowering low-income communities and communities of color to be part of this planning process, part of creating the idea of resilience hubs, building an equity lens for staff like me and staff within the SORTI organization who are going to be standing up these hubs, and really moving as much as we can towards the community, owning this and community leadership as we actually create these hubs. Because if we just sort of stand up city facilities, don't really talk and engage with the community on this, they're not going to be as functional and really support true community resilience in the long run. Next slide. So to that, to the point of equity, when we are thinking about resilience hubs, the initial sort of question was, could we have resilience hubs within a 15-minute walk shed of every person in the city of Austin? And I think when we did that initial mapping, we came up with 400 some facilities, potentially across the entire city, which is a lot of facilities, and would take a lot of money and a lot of time to stand all of that up. So we've been thinking about where do we prioritize our work, and where do we prioritize who needs resilience hubs, the soonest and the most functional in the near term to be able to focus these efforts. So what we've been thinking about is social vulnerability index. This is put together by the CDC, I believe, and it's a measure of population sensitivity to natural hazards, as well as communities' ability to respond and recover to those hazards. So as you can see on this map, the dark red is higher social vulnerability. It looks like many maps that we see of Austin highlighting the Eastern Crescent. And so we are using this kind of mapping and incorporating this into our thinking sort of front and center when we're planning where do we start first with resilience hubs. Next slide. So what are resilience hubs? They are a network of physical facilities that are community focused, where community members can go in a time of need and not in a time of need, essentially to connect with resources and help folks in their day-to-day lives. What they are not is a replacement for traditional emergency planning and disaster response. We are heavily connected with Homeland Security and Emergency Management and Travis County Emergency Management in this process, but this is not a replacement for that. We are integrating this in with our work. It's also not a replacement for the traditional sheltering plan. As we're going to talk about in a minute, if we thought about every single resilience hub like being a full off-grid shelter, we would sort of never get to this full network of resilience hubs. So we are diversifying our thinking with that. And the key here is that 98% of the time, these are just city facilities that you and I and every community member know and connect to in the community, spend time at, and then 2% of the time, they get activated with resilient systems, potentially food and water, potentially all sorts of different things to help the community in a time of need. But if we don't have folks connected to these 98% of the time, people won't know to go to them, people won't go to them because they don't trust them. And so the key here is having the support in times of need and just on a day-to-day basis. So next slide. So as we've been thinking about this more and more and more, so we started our city conversation with just the city and just thinking about city-owned assets and resources. And sort of this framework is kind of how we've been kind of building out the set of stakeholders that we are going to be involving in this whole conversation to get to successful resilience hubs. So thinking beyond the city to the county, involving community organizations, faith-based groups, schools like AISD and higher education, including utility providers, housing, businesses, chamber of commerce, so including a large group of stakeholders in this conversation, but then focusing on community preparedness, emergency preparedness in times of need, and then actually what needs to happen at the facility and the site. So this is more complex than just thinking about, a building and it having backup power and water. We need to make sure that we have all sort of three parts of this system interconnecting to end up with a successful resilience hub that actually helps the community. Next slide. So when we started our conversations on this, we were thinking about these pilot hubs, and we were thinking about, Winter Storm Uri was, thick in our minds, and we were thinking about power outages and water outages, and we were really focused in on like grid independent buildings that could survive, all the extremes, no water, no power. But the further we went down that road, it became clear that we were thinking about these like multi-million-dollar renovations to every single facility that would take a long time to build out, and probably wasn't likely even necessary for all the types of different disasters and shocks and stressors that we see in our community. So where we've evolved with this thinking, and this is part of the new work that we've done just in the last month or two, is now we've come up with these three different levels of resilience hubs. So these are kind of the draft names. So the draft names, the first one is gathering hub, the second one is relief hub, and then the third is a full-on shelter hub. So next slide. So the idea with this is that we would end up with sort of three different levels of hubs in the community. And this not only would help us, communicate to community members and people who might go to one of these hubs exactly what's at a facility, but this is also going to help us in terms of looking at what our existing facilities are and determining where we need to make investments in those facilities in order to improve their functionality and make them more supportive in times of need. So what we're thinking now is we would have basic prerequisites. So for any given facility, and we're not talking about building brand new facilities, we're talking about existing facilities. So the first question is, what's the physical ability of a facility to be a resilience hub? Like, can people go there? Is there space? Is it publicly accessible? And is it not exposed to natural hazards? So that's kind of the baseline. Like, it's got to be a facility that people can show up to, is not going to be in harm's way, and has some amount of like place for people to go into. So then we've come up with these three different groups, the facility attributes, and then also staffing and supplies. Because the key with this is that it's not just going to be what's at the facility, it's going to be who's there and what other supplies do you have there in order to help those in time of need. So generally on level one, and this has come about through conversations with AISD, with Travis County, with Homeland Security and Emergency Management, we've come up with these general definitions of what would be included in the different levels. And then as you go up the levels, so when you get to level 3, you would essentially have everything on the page included in the level 3 hub. So as you can see, level 1 starts out with really simple stuff like gathering space, restrooms, and electricity for people to charge things. And then you would have trained staff, information, care kits, snacks, and water, right? This would be probably most useful during like a stressor, during like a heat wave, the power's still on, but people need a place to go. Level 2 is more. So level 2 definitely has a larger parking lot for food and water distribution, has Wi-Fi, larger dry storage space, showers, and then either portable generators or solar kiosks to actually have some amount of backup power if the power goes out. At this kind of facility, we would think you would have larger supplies of food and water, and this is a much more functional building in terms of disaster response. And then the third level we're thinking is all of the things. So it's all the stuff from level 1 and 2 plus potential space to shelter people, grid independent power, kitchen, refrigerated storage, backup water system, and you would actually be able to hopefully operate most of this facility off grid, like during a time of water and/or power outage, And then beyond the existing staffing and supplies, you would also have additional shelter staffing resources and all of the other needs that go along there. So the idea again here is that if we look at the list of city facilities, community facilities, AISD facilities, Travis County facilities, we can start to put them into these different levels based on the kind of things that they have at those facilities right now. Next slide. So where we are now is, like I said, starting with existing facilities. So we are looking at all city-owned facilities. We're talking with the school district, and we're looking at how do school district facilities fit into this list. We've had a couple different meetings with the county now, and we're now talking with the county about their facilities. And then we're starting conversations very soon with Houston Tillotson, Austin Community College, and Central Health. So we realize that there's a range of functionality in our existing facilities. And so the first step, which we are going into basically right now, which we started in the last week, is to do this baseline facility data collection. We're using Google Maps. We are taking all these different types of facilities that are existing out there and basically entering them into this Google map with our draft level of level 1, level 2, level 3, sorting the facilities into those levels, being able to overlay the social vulnerability index map to figure out where facilities are located with their existing kind of functionality. And then what that is going to enable us to do is determine gaps, right? Where do we have gaps in locations? Where do we have gaps in functionality of facilities, as well as staffing and supplies? And then start to think about prioritizing what do we do next? What facilities do we invest in? Where do we invest in staffing and supplies? And where do we go in terms of investment to build up this network beyond just sort of baseline? So next slide. So now Matthias is going to tell you a little bit about the work at AISD and what they're sort of doing in partnership and in parallel to this initiative.
Thank you, Zach. Very much appreciate the opportunity to speak on behalf of AISD. What a great opportunity. I think, often we find that these large initiatives maybe don't always come together because each entity is at a different part in the planning or development process. And what I think is elegant about the solution is that we are planning together, we are identifying funds together, and ultimately the goal, once fully implemented, will be a network of facilities that can support our community in a way that we just haven't been able to do before. So very excited about this. Next slide, please. One of the things that I think is important that we talk about is the equity by design model. This is something that has been adopted wholly by AISD. It is something that has been woven into the collaborative planning process with the City of Austin and Travis County. And really what we're intending to do with this model is to really understand how our most underserved communities are being impacted, right? Their lived experience. And we have to be diligent in identifying where they are. We have to be diligent in identifying opportunities and ways to connect with them. And from there, we can build out. We certainly recognize that a lot of folks can get to us and provide us input, but how do we go to where our community is to really understand what their needs are? And so you'll see this model woven not only into the collaborative planning process of the City of Austin and Travis County, but it's really the foundation for any long-range planning effort that we are implementing at AISD, which we are currently doing right now. Next slide, please. So what was incredibly, I think, eye-opening and almost disheartening really was just understanding what happened in this last winter storm with Winter Storm Uri. And, we acknowledge and recognize the role that AISD has and our facilities have in supporting our community. We understand the network and the way that we can engage with our community and how might that play a role as we think about developing these hubs and supporting our community through different types of extreme events. We know that we have flexibility in how we operate. There are certain things that we can do that might be able to complement the city's efforts and Travis County's efforts. And our flexibility, I think, will be beneficial. And as we explore that, we're really excited about understanding what standard operating procedures we might implement so that when this does occur, the lag in time isn't necessarily there. We also know that, when we look at AISD, there's been a history there of supporting our community in a variety of ways, whether it's this last winter event where we had warming shelters and we stood up shelters, or even prior to that when we supported, folks that were coming to Central Texas due to hurricanes along the coast. So there's been a history there. And so we're trying to understand, what we learned from each of those events, how that can help inform our planning process moving forward. And also acknowledge that this AISD functions and some of our core competencies aren't necessarily what we would think of. Our logistics planning, moving material through the city of Austin very quickly and efficiently is something we do every single day. We have 140 campuses that we have to support, and we do so in a very thoughtful manner. And how can we leverage that logistic and infrastructure to really support this long-term plan? So really excited about all of that and how that incorporates and supports this process. Next slide, please. So as I said before, we're in the process of taking on a long-range planning effort. And for AISD, it's really aligning with academics, our facilities, and trying to figure out, how we provide those things that our students need that support student achievement. And, we have a variety of things that we're looking at, academics, athletics, visual performing arts, facilities, transportation technology, but you'll see here that we were intentional about adding safety, security, and resiliency. We have a planning committee that's been formed, and our hope is that through the planning process, when we think about making these investments in our facilities, how might that investment be slightly different to support, what a hub may be. For instance, if we have a facility that's deficient and it needs to be improved upon by way of a bond, and we're going to, invest, $8 to $10 million, how might we design that facility differently to support our community in a better way? Would we add more storage? Would we add different types of tie-ins to allow for a quick setup during an extreme event? Might we design the kitchen differently to support both the school community as well as our public if both have to operate at the same time? So our hope is that through this process, when we have these projects and we have these recommendations, they're totally in alignment with not only the work that we're doing with Travis County and the city of Austin by way of this effort, but also with our academic needs. And so as you can see here on the right, we do have a timeline. We're working through it now. Our goal is to have the long-range planning recommendations in late spring. So we're really excited about the work. It's certainly a lift, but it's very much needed. And we're excited about the opportunity to continue to work with the city of Austin on this effort. Back to you, Zach.
Thanks, Matthias. Okay, next slide. So just a couple slides left here. So where are we going from here? Next slide. So $3 million has been allocated to the Resilience Hub work through the council-approved American Rescue Plan funding framework, which is very exciting. In our sort of initial memo and communication back to council, we had the strategy kind of focused on, standing up these grid-independent hubs and standing up just a small number of them and sort of highlighting them as pilots. What we're now thinking as we talk more to the school district and Travis County, and now expanding to outside stakeholders, it's now looking like we're going to try to spread that money as far as we can to stand up the largest sort of network of hubs that we can. So I would say that the plan for exactly how the money is going to be spent is still fluid right now and is sort of coming more into focus in the next few months as we talk more and more to stakeholders. But luckily, we have a couple more years to spend that money. Slide. So these are the sort of exact next steps, and this is really working document of where we are right now. So we have been meeting with AISD every other week. The city has. We're going to continue that. We've now met with staff, numerous different staff from Travis County 2 different times. Travis County is now going to be rolled into our meetings with AISD. So every other week, we're going to be meeting all 3 of us together. And then hopefully rolling in the community college and central health also into those conversations in the coming months. As I talked about with the mapping, we are right now working on identifying all of our existing assets and facilities across these different entities, creating this Google map, and then identifying gaps in this hub network and thinking about facility levels and what would be needed at those different facilities in order to increase their resilience. So after we have the map, we're looking at locations, looking at the facilities, then we would be able to actually identify and prioritize sites and actual buildings where we would potentially spend some of that resilience hub money, and AISD would think about spending money. So we'd first focus on these facilities that we own, focus on social vulnerability index, equity, transparency in the community, and really consider a range of all three types of those hubs. So moving level 1s up to level 2, moving level 2s up to level 3, and trying to have the most hubs with the most functionality across this network. Then after we've sort of done that initial work, most of that's going to be kind of behind the scenes, just looking at our facilities. Then we're going to be jumping into stakeholder engagement to inform our process and really think about on-the-ground needs at these facilities. So we'll be centering equity in that process. We're thinking about doing some workshops internally to make sure that we're all on the same page there. The next really important thing is we have started to have conversations and hear from organizations like GAVA and other community-based organizations. And we think it's really essential for us to probably create an advisory panel in the next couple of months that would be made up of community members and help advise this process. So leaders from community-based organizations that can help really guide the way and guide the direction of kind of this entire thing. Then at that point, we have an advisory panel. We have a much more detailed look at what we have and where we might have needs. Then we will start to hopefully do neighborhood level engagement around actual buildings and actual facilities and have that conversation with the community about what kind of investments do we want to make, what kind of things do they want to see, and then really move towards thinking about a spending plan, actually upgrading facilities and activating resilience hubs. And at that point, then it will become this sort of multi-level implementation of thinking about the actual facilities, but then staffing at those facilities, communicating the network of facilities, equipment and food and water and materials at facilities. So lots of different things would then follow in the following months and years after that. Next slide. So just a very quick timeline. So where does this go over the course of the next few months? As I said, right now, really focusing on data collection and analysis. What do we have? Then as we move into early 2022, standing up this advisory board and starting to think about actual facilities and engaging with the community. And then as we move through 2022, actually engaging at the neighborhood level, selecting actual sites, planning simple strategies to actually activate more of what we could really call a resilience hub. And then, hopefully by, later in 2022, actually having staff, making this whole thing go live, and to really be able to communicate that we have a network of resilience hubs. We're investing in them. People will be there. People will show up, communicating that this is an actual live initiative. So that's kind of the thinking right now. And, as I said, as we engage with Travis County and as we engage with more and more community members, our thinking is kind of evolving on a daily basis about this. And we're just trying to make sure that we, take in all the best ideas, really center and focus on equity, really try to center what the community needs, and don't sort of rush things, but make sure that we focus on doing the right thing as we go along. And that's it. Next slide. It says thank you.
Well, thank you both so very, very much for that presentation. Colleagues, what questions do you have? Yes, Councilmember Fuentes.
Yes, thank you. And thank you for your work in meeting with community partners and with AISD. My team was able to meet with GAVA last week in a community meeting where we specifically discussed the winter storm after action report and also discussed the community resilience hub. So it's good to see that you're already engaging with GAVA. I'd also like to highlight if you could add Del Valley ISD to your list of community partners. They were a critical resource for us during the winter storm, and we stood up a warming shelter out at the Del Valley High School. And so partnering with that school district is going to be key, especially doing outreach with residents who live in the ETJ areas of the county, as well as serving City of Austin, Del Valley residents that live in that area. So just wanted to flag DVISD as another partner to engage. My question is, I know one of the recommendations that came from the after action report suggested that we develop a system to maintain current contacts at utility companies that the EOC can utilize to assess and communicate operational functions and emergency responses. Can you speak to what extent did you all consider our utilities and the access to the contact information through Austin Water and Austin Energy as part of our community resilience response? And I know that this briefing was focused on the physical location and setting that part up, but have you all made any consideration to the human infrastructure, human response to it, and as far as, and to what extent was communications part of it?
Yeah, I think I would say right now, this is all kind of in the planning stage. So we will definitely plan to have the utilities in that conversation, and communication around these hubs is going to be one of the most important things, I think, in terms of activating them. So we're involving Homeland Security and Emergency Management, and having the facility function 98% of the time is key, but making sure that there's communication about, is the power on, is the water on, is it not, and then communicating to community members about which facilities have power, water, or don't will be key in those communications about a resilience hub into the future. So.
Okay. And last question that I have for now, the initiating pilot phase, I know you have it here on the draft timeline as doing that during quarter of 2022 of next year, doing it during quarter 2 of 2022. Do you have a sense yet of how many pilot hubs we'll have? I think the resolution may have called for at least three, or I don't know if I'm basing that off of how much it would cost to put up one hub, given the amount we allocated. But do you have a sense yet of how many we can expect to be pilot hubs?
Yeah, the initial thinking, I think, was 3.
Okay.
I don't think we want to make an exact promise about that. I think, as we engage more with his advisory council, and as we think about how far do we want to spread our funding, we might have 2 or 3, or we might have more than that, depending on community needs and lots of other sort of considerations. So I think that's sort of still going to be part of our decision making in the coming months.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Councilmember Kitchen, did you have any questions? I just want to thank you both for all the ongoing work. This is really exciting and I think so necessary. And I appreciate, when we got that first memo back and the price tag was really high, I know I was one of the stakeholders who provided feedback that perhaps we need to think about how to leverage that funding to do more and have more resilience hubs with slightly different profile, so that they are not necessarily sites with redundant power and other and water storage on site and other kinds of things, but really equipping some of our existing facilities with some of the infrastructure they need to be supportive. So I really like this new approach. I want to thank you just for really tackling a project and being willing and able to iterate based on the feedback that you're getting from a multitude of stakeholders as you assess, because that frankly doesn't always happen, and I really appreciate it. I think this is the direction that really makes sense, and just am very excited to see us moving in that direction. So I like the 3 levels of hubs. I look forward to hearing a little bit more, maybe offline, about what some of the sites are that you're thinking about. I also, I know that we've had some conversations and have heard from some community members an interest in, I don't exactly know how to express it or articulate it, but kind of a resilience hub in a box framework. So the support for communities who would like to do some of this work on their own, who are equipped to do some of it on their own. My colleague mentioned GAVA. I know GAVA has really been leading the way in this community preparedness and community resilience work, and are great models for other neighborhoods and other communities on how to organize yourselves in advance of a disaster so that you're well equipped to meet that next one. And so I just throw that out. I don't have any more concrete definition to put around it than just that, but to the extent that we can provide communities, neighborhood associations, congregations with guidance on how they could get some of that in place so that they know who their community members are, who have 4-wheel drives or who are on medical support and are going to need, some extra assistance if they lose power. They know they have a relationship with a church that's willing to serve. I mean, in just the work that my office was doing and trying to find those places, we reached out to a couple churches that did have power, but they hadn't contemplated serving as a warming center. They didn't necessarily have approval from their board. Getting some of those conversations going at a time of non-disaster could be critical. So I throw that out there to ask you if you've done any thinking about how, in among the 3 tiers, which I think are great, have you done some thinking about what other kinds of resources we can provide to help get us a little further down that 400, that goal to 400?
Yeah, so I think that is in our longer term view. I think where we're going now with a definition of hubs and definitions of levels, definition of need, and a Google Map platform that any facility could sort of be added to a map and documented that here's what this facility has. I think by doing that, what we're creating is almost like a resilience hub, like a scalable platform almost. And just like you're saying, in some future, we could have an application process where churches or whatever community facility could sort of apply and then sort of say, look, here's our facility. We have these attributes. We promise to open and activate and communicate with our community when we're open and not open. And then potentially, the city could partner with them on resources. I think we could actually get to a place where we use this platform of Google Maps and of clear definition of what resilience hubs are, and then move to this, the community is actually standing up their own hubs, and this combination network of schools and city facilities and private facilities, and they're kind of all working together. I think we want to first, do the community engagement around what do these facilities need, and stand some of those up first and show that this can work, and sort of learn some things before we just go to this open application. But I think that that's where this could go in the longer term.
Yeah, thanks for that. Thanks for that thought. I think too, there's the piece of the resilience hubs that is about the facilities. There's also the piece about the resilience hubs that's really about the critically important, as you identified, community engagement work that happens in each of these. And so I think what I'm still pondering is how we support that community work in communities that may not be in the direct areas of the identified resilience hubs. How can we respond to some of the recommendations from the after action report and the audit that we'll hear tomorrow about personal preparedness? Well, to me, personal preparedness really happens not just at household by household, but also within community areas and neighborhoods. And so, to what extent do we need to kind of think about our programs? And how can the Resilience Hub community engagement piece help on that front too? So anyway, I look forward to continued conversations, but I really just appreciate the collaboration. This is super exciting. Councilmember Kitchen.
Just a quick question. I wanted to suggest, if you haven't already, to to work with the Commission on Seniors, or at least stay in touch with them. They have a project that they are working on related to developing an approach for identifying seniors in need of assistance during emergencies. I'm not sure how far Tabitha and the commission are in terms of their process, but there's some interconnectedness there. Differences, of course, it's not exactly the same projects, but it would be interesting just to make sure that you all are talking to each other and understand what each of those projects are about.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Well, colleagues, staff, thank you very much. I think we should probably conclude there. I think we're just back to back with our housing committee, and so we need to vacate the room rather quickly. But again, thank you so very much to all of our presenters today, to our other staff supporting us. We will see you back again here next month. We stand adjourned at 2:57.